My family treated me like their personal ATM for years. I tracked every loan with receipts, then sued them in small claims court for every cent, and won. 3 years ago, my mom said family doesn't keep score. So I started keeping score. I didn't say it back to her. I didn't argue. I just nodded, swallowed whatever heat tried to climb my throat, went home, opened my laptop, and created a document that felt safer than any conversation. A Google sheet titled Family Loans. Row 1. Date, borrower, reason, amount, promise, due, status, evidence. It looked clinical, clean, like a glass box I could put around a mess so it wouldn't leak into everything else. My name is Nate. Numbers make sense to me. Patterns make sense to me. Give me a bank statement and a quiet hour, and I'll show you the story you've been telling yourself without realizing it. I'm 29, old enough to be reliable, young enough to be convenient. A steady job. A budget that works as long as nobody shakes it. An economy car that coughs if the AC kicks in on a hill. I'm responsible. That's what they call you when you're the person everyone knows will answer at midnight. Becoming the family ATM didn't happen in one dramatic scene. It happened in 100 small ones. There was always an emergency. With Mom, it was her heart. Appointments, medications, co-pays. She had a way of pulling the word borrow like a blanket around any request. When she was tired, her voice softened. I'm just borrowing it for now. With my sister, single mom, 2 kids, endless scramble. It was rent, the car, sometimes a daycare deposit. With Dad, it was quieter. He never asked for himself. Not exactly. He would ask on behalf of your mom, or just until Friday, or to keep the peace. A man trying to hold the family between his hands like you hold water, gently so you don't spill, and in the end, you always spill. By the end of 2022, the sand dune had a shape. I could feel the slope of it even before the numbers showed me the outline. 11 transactions, a total of $480. The biggest was that one, $200 for rent. The smallest was a $60 pharmacy pickup. Most fell somewhere in the red middle. $200 here, $350 there, $480 when the engine decided to hiss at my sister on a freeway she couldn't afford to avoid. I kept every receipt. I wrote memos on transfers, loan to Mom the 12th of February 2022. I screenshotted text threads where the word loan appeared, where borrow flashed, where Payback Friday glowed like a little promise someone had tossed over their shoulder while walking away. I wasn't waiting to use these in a fight. I was waiting to use them for myself, so that when I woke up at 3 a.m. wondering if I had become selfish, I could open the sheet and see rows, dates, amounts, notes, like handholds, anchors, proof. In January 2023, I found a new apartment, quiet building, decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but I could picture my couch by a window, a coffee mug warming my hands, a plant somehow not dying. I'd saved for the deposit. I'd budgeted for the move. Then the timing collided. Can we hold off on that repayment? Mom asked. You know how the hospital is. They're billing again. Just a couple weeks, Dad echoed. We're working something out. What deposit? My sister sent back when I asked if she could send even part of what she owed. You have a good job. Why are you nickel and diming when I have kids? Because it was a loan. I typed, the word feeling heavy and adult, like something wearing a suit. The gaslight came soft and bright. It's family money. Why are you counting? Mom's voice wasn't angry. It was injured. In this family, we share. We also sign, I said before I could stop myself. Maybe that was the trigger. Maybe it was just inevitable. Nate, Mom said the next day, if you keep saying loan, then don't call this home anymore. I had grown up in a house where ungrateful lived on a hook by the front door next to the coats. You could put it on and it would fit anyone. When you walked around in it, everyone saw you through that word. Within a week, in the group chat that usually shared photos of my nieces and the occasional recipe nobody followed, I became ungrateful. Cold. Calculating. The ATM that suddenly wanted a PIN code. Fine. If I was going to be the villain, I would be the kind with good paperwork. I sat down with the sheet and made it precise. 11 rows. Dates from 2019 to 2022. A column for who, a column for why, a column for amount, a column for due, a column for status. I uploaded PDFs of bank statements. I dropped screenshots into a folder called Evidence Pack. The message where my sister wrote, "Okay, I'll pay Friday," after I offered to cover a daycare late fee. The payment note that read, "Loan to Mom," the IOU scribbled by Dad on a torn envelope at the kitchen table when I'd hesitated in front of a medical bill. Then, because I wanted to be fair, because I was not trying to burn bridges, only make them load-bearing, I wrote up a statement. I converted the sheet into a clean PDF, a 2-page summary with dates and totals, and a simple sentence at the bottom. Proposed payment plan, $150 per month. Please sign by date 60 days out to acknowledge receipt and agreement. I emailed it to Mom, to Dad, to my sister. This is to help us be clear, I wrote. So we don't have to mix money and feelings. If we agree in writing, we won't have to argue. And Linda called first. Every family has one. The archivist, the diplomat, the unofficial spokesperson. That's Aunt Linda. She can quilt a guilt trip and make it look like a blanket. Sweetheart, she began, voice soft as a hymn. I saw your email. You have to understand how this looks. Your mother is sick. Your father is trying to keep the household calm. Your sister is doing this alone, with 2 little ones. Is now the time to make this formal? Now is the only time I have, I said. My lease ends in July. If there's going to be a plan, I need the plan to start. We don't make each other look bad, she said, and texted me a stream of documents. Hospital statements, my dad's unemployment letter, a doctor's note about my nephew's asthma. They aren't lying to you. I know, I said. I have the pharmacy receipt. I paid it. I could feel myself edging toward a cliff where one more word would push me over into shouting. But this situation is not random lightning. It's the sky they built. Mom and Dad have never budgeted for emergencies. They call everything an emergency. My sister chose independence over a wealthy husband. And okay, that was her choice. But her salary isn't nothing. Why, with 2 incomes over the years, is the rent always a crisis? And if the asthma is so expensive, why does the brand new car have leather seats? She sighed. Don't make this a legal matter, Nate. It's ugly. It splits people. She didn't say the quiet part out loud. Don't make us accountable. She continued. You're being harsh. They're struggling. So am I wanted to say. Instead, I took a breath and said, that's why I'm offering a plan. I made it manageable. $150 a month. 60 days to sign. I'll mark each payment received. We can do this like adults. Privately. We'll talk, she said. Let me be the bridge. My dad texted late that night. We'll look it over. Mom sent a heart and then a thumbs up, as if that were a signature. My sister texted a day later. Okay, I'll pay Friday. It was in response to nothing in particular. Maybe she'd been scrolling and saw the email again. Maybe something pricked her conscience. Maybe she just wanted to quiet me. Either way, it was something. If you've ever loved someone whose Friday money lives permanently in the future, you know that sentence well. I screenshotted the text and waited. Friday arrived. The bank did not. I captured the absence, labeled the file, the 7th of April 2023, no payment, sister, Friday, text, and filed it under evidence. 60 days came and went, no signatures, no payments. I sent one last message. Reminder, today is the last day for the payment plan I proposed. If I don't hear back by 5 p.m., I will consider other options. Polite, clear, hard center. No response. The next morning I printed everything. Transfers with memos that said, loan to mom the 12th of February 2022. Texts that used the words borrow, loan, pay back. The famous, okay, I'll pay Friday. I highlighted the key words like I was studying for an exam called Boundaries 101. I put every entry into a clear sleeve, tabbed by name. Mom, Dad, sister. I included the hospital bills and asthma note and layoff letter Aunt Linda sent. Not because they proved anything legal, but because they proved humanity. I wanted the judge to see the whole picture, and then draw the legal lines on top of it. Filing at small claims felt almost indecently easy. The clerk took my forms, 3 filings, each comfortably under the cap, stamped them, and said, you'll get a hearing in 4 to 6 weeks, make sure service is done. Service. The word sounds gentle, but in this context it means, make sure nobody can pretend they didn't know. I hired a process server, not because I wanted the front porch drama, but because I was done with the story, where, we never saw it, gets to erase everything. When the papers arrived at their house, the group chat went bright with heat, then dark with blocks. My sister wrote a paragraph as long as a rope, each word a twist. Are you serious? Are you that hungry for money? Are you that desperate to humiliate us? My mom's message came later, after the rope had stopped swinging. Family doesn't do this. My dad didn't say anything. The silence held more weight than I wanted to carry. Aunt Linda called too, voice sugared with outrage. You did the ugliest thing. You put this in front of strangers. That's the point, I said. I'm too close to it. The court is a stranger on purpose. You're going to make your mother sick. She was sick before I filed, I said, and winced at my own edge. This is about the money. It's the same conversation we should have had years ago, except now everyone has to tell the truth at the same time. Then my phone buzzed with notifications I didn't want to open. I opened them anyway. Posts from cousins in other states, from an uncle who liked the lecture and comments, from people whose last names matched mine and who had opinions like darts. Some people only care about money. Imagine suing your own mother. On the night my baby was fighting to breathe, he texted asking for $200 like a loan shark. That last one hurt. It also wasn't true. The night my nephew had wheezed, I'd driven to the pharmacy. I'd paid. I'd stayed until the coughing softened. I texted the next day, asking about repayment only after I knew the breathing had been easy since morning. But memory is a funhouse mirror when guilt and anger stand in front of it. 4 weeks crawled and dashed and finally arrived. The courtroom was beige and buzzing. I wore a suit I reserved for interviews and funerals. The judge's name meant nothing to me, which was perfect. I didn't want familiarity in the room where I needed clarity. She opened her mouth, closed it, shook her head. I meant to, she said. I was going to. What we mean to do and what we do are different in this room, the judge said. He turned to my father. Sir? My dad cleared his throat. I told him not to do this, he said. He's making it worse. The judge nodded, like he'd already met that sentence. Maybe, he said. But I decide based on what happened. He looked back at me. You have memos that say, loan, messages that say, borrow and pay back, even an I'll pay Friday. Yes, Your Honor. He looked at my family. Anything at all that shows these were gifts? Silence. Heavy, honest. Here's the key, the judge said, and his voice had the tone of a ruler pressed straight against the page. Transactions of money between adults, with an agreement to repay, are loans. If you wanted these to be gifts, the burden is on you to show that. You have not. He has brought documentation, memos, messages, a proposed repayment plan. The court is not here to referee feelings, the court is here to enforce agreements. My mother made a small sound, like a window catching. I'm granting judgment for the plaintiff. $480, plus court costs of $110, he said. Payments will be arranged through the clerk's office. $150 per month is reasonable. Late payments will accrue statutory interest. A gavel tap turned into a line I could finally step over. Afterward, in the hallway, my mother's silence was the loudest thing about her. My sister's glare could have boiled water. My father stood near me without being with me. You got what you wanted, he said. I got what was owed, I said. Not the same thing. We didn't hug, we didn't set up a family meeting. We walked away from each other like we were all strangers who had accidentally made eye contact and needed to pretend it hadn't happened. 2 weeks later, a transfer hit my account with a memo. We're done. It was from my father. Not the full amount, the first installment. I stared at the words. We're done. Done with what? The fight? The asking? The family? Or did he mean, let me be the one who makes this end, quietly, before it grows claws? I didn't know. I only knew that my father, who had stood silent in the courtroom and admitted the truth without defense, was the first to pay. The payments started to arrive monthly. My sister's portion was late a few times. The clerk's notices about interest went out like polite weather alerts. My mother paid right on the dot, as if punctuality itself were a form of protest. Aunt Linda texted a verse about forgiveness once a month with no context. I replied, payment received, thank you, like we were two ships signaling in fog. The money didn't fix us. It wasn't designed to. Money is a tool, not a therapist. What it did was change the rules. The day the first payment cleared, I opened my sheet and typed Pentic in the status column for the first time. Then I added a new tab called Boundaries and wrote at the top, I don't fund emergencies created by adults. People hear that and think it's cruel. It isn't. It doesn't mean I won't help. It means I'm done underwriting the habits that create the same crisis, again and again. Kid needs a prescription? I'm there. Mom needs a riding company at a doctor's appointment. I'm there. But if an adult ignores a bill for 30 days and texts at 1 a.m. like the due date ambushed them in an alley, my role is not to turn their surprise into my problem. Let me ground this in the numbers, because the numbers are the only part of this story that never tried to rewrite themselves. Between 2019 and 2022, 11 transactions. The smallest, $120, groceries. The largest, $200, rent catch-up. The hospital copay and meds, $900. The car repair, $480. The famous Friday, $200, forever living in a future that never arrives. In 2023, I sent the statement and proposed the plan. In 2024, I filed. In 2025, I started getting paid back. There's something else nobody tells you. The hardest part isn't the hearing. It's the quiet after. Fewer holiday invites. Family chats going still. The phone no longer buzzing at midnight with a crisis dressed like a question. It was a new kind of peace. Not warm, not cozy, but honest. I found myself in the greeting card aisle that spring, staring at rows of Mother's Day cards. Every one of them said, "You've always been there for me," or "Your love is my home." I held one and felt two truths sit down next to each other in my chest. My mother loves me, and my mother used that love to make my money feel like obligation. Both can be true. That's adulthood. Truth is a long table where contradictions eat from the same plate. A week later, my dad texted, "Payment sent," then, "We're done." I stared at those words too long, trying to find the flavor under them. Relief? Resentment? Both? I typed, "Received." Then I went for a walk because sometimes movement is the only way to make a feeling pass through you instead of stay. What I learned about people who say family doesn't keep score is simple. Usually, they're winning the game. The ones losing are told to stop ruining the fun. The core didn't care about our game, it cared about agreements. It did what my family wouldn't, wrote down what happened and said, "This counts." I still have the binder. Not as a trophy, as a record. It holds the IOU my mom scribbled on a receipt. Borrow $200. We'll pay next week. Her handwriting makes a loop on borrow, like she was trying to outrun the word. It holds the screenshot of, "Okay, I'll pay Friday," a phrase that used to make me laugh and now makes me careful. It holds the bank memo that reads, "Loan to mom, the 12th of February 2022. The line the judge looked at twice. Not because he doubted me, but because he knew one clear sentence can carry a whole case. If you're in the early chapter of this story, if you're building your own spreadsheet at a kitchen table while everyone sleeps, listen, you are not cruel. You are not ungrateful. You are not a traitor. You are a person who understands that generosity without boundaries isn't kindness. It's complicity. You are allowed to write things down. You are allowed to require signatures. You are allowed to say loan and mean it. People ask me for advice now, because that's what happens when you say something out loud that other people have only said in their heads. I tell them, use words that courts recognize. If you lend money, write loan in the memo. If they promise to repay, get it in text or email. If you propose a repayment plan, be reasonable and be specific. Offer a runway. Also, offer a departure time. If they don't take off, you can still catch your flight. I can hear my mom's sentence even now. In this family, we share. And I can hear my answer, steady now where it used to tremble, we also sign. That isn't disrespect. That's mutual respect, in ink. Because signing is a kind of sharing too. It's sharing responsibility. It's sharing the future. It's sharing clarity. These days, my mother and I talk briefly about the weather, about her latest boringly normal cardiology results. May your heart be as boring as a beige wall, I told her, and she actually laughed. My sister and I are in a careful middle ground. On my nephew's birthday, I mailed him a Lego set with a note. Build something sturdy. My sister texted a picture of his grin. The next payment arrived on time. I marked paid in the sheet, closed the laptop, and let the room be quiet.